It is, April 26, 2017. Here on earth, not in heaven. There is no time there. Daniel, you got a song for us, and then a testimony that ought to be interesting to folks. Go ahead. Tell us what you got here.
Okay. Just a little ditty. Well, I've been east and I've been west. I've seen the worst and I've seen the best. I've seen the other side of life. And I've been up and I've been down. I wore a smile and I wore a frown. I've seen the other side of strife. But when my life is over, I know there's fields of clover waiting somewhere beyond the blue. Although I am a sinner, I know I am a winner, 'cause what Jesus has done for me and you. Well, I've been east and I've been west. I've seen the worst and I've seen the best. I've seen the other side of life. And I've been up and I've been down. I wore a smile and I wore a frown. I've seen the other side of strife. But when my life is over, I know there's fields of clover waiting somewhere beyond the blue. Although I am a sinner, I know I am a winner, 'cause what Jesus has done for me and you. 'Cause what Jesus has done for me and you. 'Cause what Jesus has done for me and you.
Amen. Hey, very good. Thank you, brother. Always a blessing. Testimony time. Oh yeah, we got a Daniel. Hang on. Too many wires here. Okay, you got an interesting call today about. Well, let you tell the story here. Go ahead, Daniel.
Well, I work in the shop, in the bookshop, and I take the orders. And if you look at the two books, as both Woe, What on Earth, and Why on Earth. Well, I made a mistake when I took the order, and I wrote down why WOE happened, but this is also happened. So I made a mistake and I sent out that one, which is the testimonies that you wrote in prison, like two-way conversations with, imaginary two-way conversations with characters in the Bible.
Right.
And which is a very, very encouraging book. And anyhow, so the guy wrote, he said, "Oh, I got the wrong book." So I said, "Well, keep it and give it to somebody that you feel that might need it." And he phoned me back today, and then I sent him this one, the one that he actually ordered. But God works in mysterious ways, His wonders to perform. And he wrote back and he said He's given that into the hands of somebody that's bringing him back to the Lord.
Amen.
And if that hadn't happened, if I just sent that, the other wouldn't have happened. So the Lord makes our mistakes into something good.
Amen. He always does. Thank you, brother. That's a blessing. While I was in prison for nearly 9 years for the dumbest law in the history of the world, structuring, and for not breaking that even, I started very early, matter of fact, the first month I was there, writing letters to God or to Bible characters. And then I collected them all, and I wrote hundreds of them. And we've now got the first book only from 2007. It's the only one published. We can't afford to get the rest done. We'll get, this one. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Why on earth did God let this happen, for heaven's sake? You don't have to live very long in this world before you will be asking that question. God, why did you let this happen to me? How many know what I'm talking about? Been there, done that. Okay, bunch of times. So I wrote for the first one here. Let's see. Dear God is the title. It was originally the title of the letters I was writing. A letter from God to John the Baptist was the first one I wrote. After a while, I wrote maybe 6 months of letters from different Bible characters as I went through the emotional roller coaster that everybody goes through when tragedy strikes. You know, you go broke, you lose your house, somebody dies in your family, you get divorced, whatever. Whatever tragedy strikes, you will go through an emotional roller coaster. God knows all about it and understands, get the microphone closer, and understands completely. And so I wrote to different characters in the Bible. Dear Ebed Melech, Maybe you don't know who that is. Joseph in his prison sentence. Joseph went to prison for doing the right thing, for refusing the advances of his boss's wife. So then I started holding two-way conversations, and we called it an email. Because with email, you can only talk to people that are alive on Earth and have hooked up to the internet. But with Kneemail on your knees, K-N-E-E-E, you can talk to anybody anywhere. So I was Kneemailing people in heaven, people in hell, people in the Bible. I was having a blast. My imagination, my wife can tell you, it really runs wild, okay? Never mind, I can tell you stories all day long. So anyway, this book, if you have trouble or tragedy, or you know somebody who's going through some trials or hard times or discouraged, this may be something that would help them. Why on earth? That's me. Well, that's a picture of me. Kneeling down at the prison and the bench there, concrete table you sleep on. Why did God let this happen? You know, Job had everything go wrong for him, and God never told him why. Never found out why. So while I was in prison, I made at least 10,000, maybe 15,000 bookmarkers for people with their name on it. I just made one for you because I hadn't made these in months. I saw a stack sitting on my desk, and so I asked, have you seen one? As I answered mail, I had 18,000 letters, I think, in prison. I kept track for a month, and then guesstimated to multiply by the number of months. Okay, I kept track for 2 months. Doesn't matter. Anyway, I would very often, if I had time, send them a response letter and a bookmarker. And the lesson here is very simple. It goes along with the book. Why did God let this happen? Sometimes things don't make sense until you look at it God's way. There's only one way to read your name on here. I don't know if I can do it with the camera or not, but if I tip this down slowly, all of a sudden the name appears. K-A-R-I. But you can't see it any other way. You got to look at it just right. And when trouble happens in your life, you got to look at it God's way, or it just won't make sense. Some people, when things go bad, they get mad at God. See, it's interesting. You can lay a lump of clay and a stick of butter out on the sidewalk. The sun shines on them, same sun, same temperature, same sidewalk, right next to each other. One melts, one gets hard. Isn't that weird? The same thing's happening, but one gets hard and one gets soft. When things go wrong for you, how you react is up to you.
Bitter or better? Bitter or better?
Bitter or better, your choice, okay? And I just said, okay, God, I know in my heart I did not break any laws. I know half the Bible's written from prison, and I'm just going to trust you for this. Something good's going to come from it.
Amen.
And thousands of good things have come from it. And we haven't seen the end of the story yet. I never would have written these books. I never would have changed my theology on end times, because I was preaching 900 times a year. I didn't have time to stop and think about other stuff, you know. So it didn't take me 9 years to change. I mean, God could have let me out a little earlier, you know, but okay. I don't want to do it again, but I can see why God let it all happen. Okay, here's a letter from Australia. Australia. Is that how you pronounce it?
Australia, mate.
Australia, mate.
Smile when you
Smile, Australia. Okay.
That's it.
Australia, Christian Lobby Organization. These changes include, Australia is trying to pass a law that Abortion Law Reform Miscellaneous Acts Amendment, Bill 2016, which will permit abortion till birth, remove the conscience rights of doctors. Apparently now a doctor can say, this is against my conscience, I don't want to kill this baby. That's going to remove that. Prevent prayer vigils and sidewalk counseling near abortion clinics, and proposes a maximum penalty of $16,500 or 12 months in prison for those who break it. So if you go pray in front of an abortion clinic, you can go to prison for 12 months and get fined $16,500 if this bill passes. I think everybody ought to call ACL, is a website, .org.au. I'll just hold that up there and let you figure all that out. I can't do all that stuff. Okay. The worst abortion laws. See if that's enough where you can find it and put your 2 cents worth in and say, this is dumb, capital D dumb. Don't pass a law like that. Okay, that is ridiculous.
Murder.
It's murder.
That's right.
I've said in my seminar many times, look, why is it always the baby has to die? Why don't we abort the father once in a while?
Well, we protect birds and we protect fish.
If you destroy an eagle's egg, It's a huge fine, and you
That's
go
right.
right.
Makes no sense.
Makes no sense at all until you read the Georgia Guidestones and see the real picture here. There's a group of folks, the super rich bazillionaires, the 300 Committee of 300 that rule the world. They want to reduce the population to 500 million by any means possible. That's what chemtrails are about. That's what vaccines are about. That's what wars are about. They start wars purposely to just thin down the population. We covered that on video 5. And when they came crashing into my house with the SWAT team, they said, get every DVD number 5 you can find. That's the one that they really wanted to shut me up about. And it didn't work. I'm still talking about it. Okay. We are in Daniel chapter, did I forget all that? Oh, I did an hour-long debate today with a guy in Denmark on the internet from Monroeville. And we've got a lot of stuff. Steve and I have been going through a lot of questions. For people, eventually we will have a system set up where people can become a member for $10 a month or something. That helps us run the ministry here. And then they will get access to all kinds of special stuff. That's the goal, including like the debate I did today with the atheist in Denmark. I did an hour-long program a couple hours ago with a guy who came sat right here with a camera and interviewed me. Why are you a Baptist? He's doing a PhD dissertation on the different religions, and why Baptist? Why not something else? And so here's all the questions he asked me. And I answered them all on the hour-long. And that is posting now. My computer's going extremely slow. Because the internet out here is, I don't know how it works. Thomas, you know how it works. The snail has to crawl to Repton and then hand it to somebody or something. So, we do these programs at 7:30, 8 o'clock at night, and sometimes they're not loaded till the next morning. We're going as fast as we can go. Okay, I'm going as fast as I can go. Okay, Daniel chapter 12, where we left off last night. Let me get shaky camera over here. Right there. Okay. Oh, and get that out there. Verse number 5. We left off verse 4 last night. Let's pray. Lord, thank you for loving us. Thank you for letting us have a copy of your word. Oh, Father, how many Christians around the world, or non-Christians, would love to just have a copy of your word, and they can't because they'll get killed for having it. Or it's just not available in their language or whatever, Father. Please, send revival across the world, Lord. But while we've got a copy, help us to read it and to heed it and spread it around. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Daniel chapter 12, verse number 5. Then I, Daniel, looked, and behold, there stood other two, the one on this side of the bank of the river, and the other on that side of the bank of the river. And the one said to the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, how long shall it be to the end of these wonders? Remember, he's telling him about the future. And he asks him an obvious question, how long is it going to be until the end? Verse 7. And I heard the man clothed in linen, which was upon the waters of the river, when he held up his right hand and his left hand unto heaven, and swear by him that liveth for ever and ever, that it shall be for a time, times, and a half. That's a strange way to say it. Time, times, and a half. Well, that same phrase appears several times in the Bible. I have them all listed here on my chart, which is behind me, and also you can get the little ones for $10. If you order anything, you ought to get one of these. It's a great study tool. I'm a little prejudiced because I made it, but I think it is. I didn't do the artwork for it, but it is pretty cool. Anyway, time, times, and the dividing of a time. Okay, the 3.5-year period in the first should be half of the 7-year period, the 70th week of Daniel. It is called several things. It is called 1,260 days in Revelation 11:3 and Revelation 12:6. It is called time, times, and the dividing of a time, or time, times, and a half, which is time being a year, times, plural, being 2 more, and a half, 3.5 years. It's called that in Daniel 7:25, Daniel 12:7, where we're reading, and Daniel 12:14. We'll see it again. It's called 42 months, which is also 3.5 years, in Revelation 12:2 and Revelation 13:5. And I got them all listed on the chart here. So this 3.5 years is interesting. It is quite obviously half of the 7 years. 3.5 is half of 7. So he said, how long is it going to be? He said 3.5 years. Time, times, and a half. And when he shall have accomplished to scatter the power of the holy people. This is Antichrist is going to scatter the power of the holy people. Well, who's the holy people? In this case, it's going to be us, Christians, and I think it probably applies secondarily to the Jews. They're always considered God's people, but they're not very holy. But they will be. They'll be all converted. When they see him whom they pierced, they shall look on him whom they pierced, and they're going to get converted, a bunch of them, in one day. He's going to scatter the power of the holy people. Someone in the interview, one of the interviews I did today, I said, there's a verse in the Bible that really, really concerns me. In Luke chapter 18, I should have put that in the thing here, but it's been a busy day. It tells the story about the unjust judge. And by the way, there are still some of those in the world. The unjust judge. And at the end of the first 7 verses, all of a sudden it throws in verse 8, which seems to be totally unrelated to the story I just got done talking about. It says, when the Son of Man cometh, shall he find faith on the earth? Shall he find faith on the earth? The answer is never given, but I think it's an obvious redundant question. The answer would be no, or maybe not. You know, when the flood finally came, how many people got on that boat? 8. Out of how many? We don't know, but a bunch. I mean, if they're living 900 years and having kids, I mean, you could have a lot of kids in 900 years. Take that times 10 generations. Let's just assume 100 kids per family. What's 100 times 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 100?
And they were living about 120 years or so.
And even, well, that was before the flood, living 900 years. So I would assume it was a huge population, but only 8 got on the ark. Today there are 7.4, whatever the number is now, billion people in the world. Maybe this rapture is not going to be the major event we think it is. Maybe it's going to be kind of a dud. Not many people left to go because so many will be killed. If you read Daniel, what got me really concerned and finally caused me to switch my theology was Daniel chapter 7. Right, and I have it on my chart here. The 2 yellow sections in here, Daniel 7:19 to 22, it's actually verse 21, and verse 25. He's going to wear out the saints. We're here for the tribulation. This is not talking about the Jews. This is us. We're here. So, he said, it's going to go for times and a half to scatter the power of the holy people. I think we will see radical changes on planet Earth. And I think we better quit playing around with things that are just absolutely not going to matter in eternity and start focusing on what's important. Hovind advice, unsolicited and free. Okay. And all these things shall be finished. And I heard, but I understood not. This is Daniel speaking. I heard this angel talking to me, but I didn't understand it. Then said I, O my Lord, what shall be the end of these things? And he said, Go thy way, Daniel, for the words are closed up and sealed till the time of the end. Hovind translation. Daniel, don't worry about it. You wrote what I told you. Put the pen down. Go on. This isn't going to happen till the time of the end. Now the phrase, the end, appears quite a few times in the Bible. It's not always the absolute end of the world, and I've got them all listed on the chart here. The end could be the end of the Gentile world. Could be the end of the time of tribulation. We explain all that in the book. What on earth is about to happen, for heaven's sake. So, go thy way, for the words are closed up and sealed till the end, time of the end. Many shall be purified and made white and tried. This is going to be a time of great trial. If you read Revelation 7, it says, he stood and saw a great crowd of people, all clothed in white raiment. He said, who are these? Well, these are the ones that had their heads cut off, that were martyred for the Lord. It might even be that it ties in with the Revelation, Daniel 7 and Revelation 5. 10,000 times 10,000. How many is that? 100 million. Could it be that 100 million people will have their heads cut off? It looks to me like that's what it is saying. Let's see, now what religion cuts people's heads off if they disagree with them? Yeah. Okay. They're going to be made white and tried, but the wicked shall do wickedly. They always do. And none of the wicked shall understand, but the wise shall understand. I have prayed 10,000 times, Lord, give me wisdom. I want to understand. I want to know. Even if it's not good, I want to know. You don't want to take your kid to the dentist, and the dentist says, this isn't going to hurt. Or you tell your kid, no, it may hurt, okay? Be honest. One time I was going to get an ingrown toenail cut out. Anybody ever had an ingrown toenail cut out? I sat down in the chair. I thought, he's going to give me a shot, do something. No, he just picked up a regular old wire cutter like I got in the shop out here. Freddie, you got.
Oh, jeez.
And before I could even think, all of a sudden he jammed it up under my toenail and snip. My eyes went huge. He jammed it the rest of the way and snip, grabbed it and ripped it off. And I fainted right in the chair.
Oh.
First time, only time I've ever fainted in my life.
Oh my God.
What did you do? No warning, no nothing. Just, whoa, what was this? Tore out half my toenail. Anyway, many shall be tried. The wise shall understand. I want to understand. If bad times are coming, if we're going to be here for the tribulation, I want to understand. God is not leaving us here so he can be mean to us. This is not God doing any of this. This is the wicked world doing it. That's the difference between tribulation and wrath. See, tribulation is what the world does to us. That's this part right here. Jesus said you're going to have it. In the world ye shall have tribulation. But 1 Thessalonians 1:10 and 5:9 tells us we are not appointed unto wrath. And for 40 years of my Christian life, I did not distinguish between tribulation and wrath. They're not the same. We are here for the tribulation, and we're going to be tried. And those that teach otherwise, I feel like you're like Pasher and Jeremiah. Jeremiah said, look, we're going into captivity, and they hated him. And Pasher beat him up. Jeremiah chapter 20. There are those who don't like the message. Hey, we're going to be here for the... I didn't write the message. I'm not causing this to happen. I'm just telling you what the book says. It says we're going to be here. Okay. But the wise shall understand. And I think if you got a brain in your head, you better try to start understanding what's coming. And from the time that the daily sacrifice shall be taken away. Well, that's the middle of the tribulation. In the middle of... And the abomination that maketh desolate set up, there shall be 1,290 days. Well, that again is 3.5 years. Half of the 7 years. Blessed is he that waiteth and cometh to the 1,305 and 30 days. Well, that's an extra 45 days. Daniel and I have had several discussions about where that fits in and what that is. And I'll be honest, I don't know for sure. But I think that's the selecting of the 144,000. That's where I put it together. I'm willing to listen. But go thou thy way till the end be, for thou shalt rest, and stand in thy lot at the end of days. Daniel, go take a break. You're done. You wrote what I told you. Put the pen down. 600 years later, John, Jesus' youngest disciple, the story is, I don't know if it's not in the Bible, but the story according to Fox's Book of Martyrs is, they tried to kill John by dipping him in boiling oil. And he wouldn't die. So they put him on the Isle of Patmos, exiled him to an island. And he didn't die there either. The Lord told him, you're going to get off this island and go deliver this message to other people. Which means the rapture cannot be imminent. Revelation chapter 10. John, you're going to get off this island and go deliver this message. So if John's writing the last book in the Bible, and God's telling him there's still something that has to happen before the end, well then none of the Bible can teach imminent rapture. Think about it. Because John had to get off that island and go deliver that message to the 7 churches. So no place in the Bible does it teach the rapture can take place any minute. No, it does not teach that. It comes after the tribulation. We cover that in the book too. And stand in that lot to the end of days. He said, Daniel, you're done. Put the pen down. John picks the pen up, figuratively, 600 years later, and finishes the story with the book of Revelation. So that is the end of Daniel chapter 12 for now. We will get into more stuff tomorrow. Then we're going to start a whole session on Bible characters. I love studying different characters. What made them succeed or fail? What were their character traits? What were they like? It's cool studying other people, saying, that's what most athletes do. Study somebody else who's already good at what they're doing, and okay, how does he stand when he holds the bat, and how he holds his tongue. Study the guy. Do what he does. Mimic success. It's that way. You have to do that with the finances. If you want to learn how to make money, don't ask somebody on Skid Row. Ask a millionaire. I was building a deck one time for a guy in Texas, and I did build decks and docks. I did, and he's a multi-millionaire. He said, Brother Hovind, would you like? He brought me out a Coke or something. It was a hot day. He said, you want to hear how I made my money? He was an ex-football player from Dallas Cowboys. I said, well, sure. And he sat and talked to me for an hour about how to get rich. Great advice from a guy who did it. And we'll cover that some other time. Okay, got to go. See you later. We'll get into Bible characters here and how they succeed. If you're not saved, first thing I would do, there are some bad times coming on planet Earth. Be sure you are a child of God. Number two, the safest place to be when all this hits is right smack in the middle of God's will.
Preacher.
Amen.
He can protect you right in the middle of a hurricane
That's right.
if you're in the middle of His will. Stay close to God. Get the sin out of your life. Say, God, if you sin, say, God, I'm sorry, forgive me, confess it. Every day you got to take a shower or a bath. Sometimes several times a day you got to wash the dirt off. It's that way with your spiritual life too. Sometimes several times a day you got to get alone and say, okay, God, I'm sorry, I blew it again. Clean me up, please. 1 John 1:9, okay? You only get born once, but you can take a bath a lot of times, or you should. You only get born again once, and you ought to get cleaned up many times a day. That's real simple. Christian life is simple. Get smack in the middle of God's will. And then study His book and find out what's coming. Or get my book, What on Earth's About to Happen, if you want to see some advice on what do we do about it.